finding assumable loans out there?
Well, formal assumptions often, like
Okay.
really often, but we pretty rarely have a buyer that can fit the down payment needs to meet
Right.
it. Informal assumptions with a wrap pretty regularly. So
Okay.
that's basically like the bank doesn't know of the assumption, the loan stays in the seller's name, and you do a second mortgage that wraps the difference, and the buyer basically takes over the mortgage without formally assuming it.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty unique deal. So unless if you're like super involved and understand it, it's normally not something I pitch to people.
Yeah, that sounds super unique to me. So is it kind of like it's still an owner carry as attachment? Okay.
Yeah, it's an owner carries, and then you do a wrap loan. So
Love it.
you do a second mortgage that wraps over the whole first mortgage.
And is there a balloon associated with that?
Typically not, no, unless
Holy
if
shit.
the seller needs it to make the deal work.
Wow.
Those really only come to fruition when you either have a seller that's been on market and can't sell, or
Right.
somebody that needs to get out of the place and they don't
Or
have
unique
time.
property, maybe.
Unique properties,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's actually a really, like, sometimes it's a really good option to get for buyers if they find a place on market that's been sitting for a long time. So it's a really easy way to get their purchase price that they need because the rate's more valuable than the actual sales price. It's like
Wow.
if somebody's got a 2.5 rate, right? And they're trying to sell and they're 5% above market. So they're, and they can't get it. And it's been on the market for 180 days. Like sometimes as a buyer's agent, if you come in there and be like, hey, have you considered an assumable mortgage? You'd be like, oh, it can't be assumed. Like, actually, we have this new way that lets us assume it as is, and we can get you the full purchase price that you want. And
Unbelievable.
then you can make it work. There's a lot more writing on those. So, and they're a little bit newer.
Okay.
So a lot of agents don't understand them. So it can be a lot to work through.
Well, unless you're doing creative loans or have an experience writing or receiving creative loans, you wouldn't know. It's too confusing for the average person. The average buyer or seller doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me that people are hesitant because they don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just scratching my head here wondering how many times I've missed the opportunity not knowing this. And what loan institution are you working with that's pulling this off?
You don't work with a loan institution. It's just between you and title. So
love it.
Yeah, there's no lender involved. You don't involve their current lender. Everything stays the same. You basically take over their mortgage. The mortgage stays in the seller's name and stays on their credit. So that's the risk for the seller.
Mm-hmm.
If the buyer doesn't perform and forecloses, the foreclosure would go on the seller's credit too. But yeah, so there, like it's a workaround. Like there's, like it's very cut and dry, but
wow. Okay.
Risky for both parties.
If both of them have skin in the game, then it's less likely to belly up if there's a very large non-refundable from the buyer. And wow, that's cool.
Yeah, they work really good too because like the buyer will put the down payment down, but it goes to the seller, right?
Yeah.
And not to the lender. So say there's a note, a $200,000 note, and you're buying it for $300,000, right? The seller might say, in order for me to do this, I need $50,000 from the buyer, and that would go to the seller. So then there would be $250,000 that still ought to be owed. The seller would do a second lien position note for $50,000. The original $200,000 note stays in place, and the buyer just takes it over and makes the payments. So then the buyer would make payments to the original lender and payments to the seller on the second. If the buyer ever sold or refinanced, that's when the seller would get bought out or maneuvered out.
Clear him from the deed. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's